You're listening to the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. There's another question here from Pound again from Sports Breakdown. What do you think about the Future Tours program, Future Tour for Test cricket in the next 4 years? Do you think it's fair for nations like Bangladesh, where Test cricket is dying, to have more Test matches than Pakistan, South Africa, and Sri Lanka? We are going to discuss the international schedule a bit later on in this discussion, but we'll touch on it now. I'm just looking at my notes here. Yes, they have got 34 test matches, Bangladesh, in this next cycle from 2023 to 2027. Pakistan has got 27, South Africa 28, Sri Lanka 25. It's not really equal among the teams, that they play different amounts of cricket throughout the formats. I mean, throughout the whole three formats, but also for Test cricket, it's all over the place. England play the most tests in the next cycle anyway.
Right.
So it's about trying to find that balance, but we'll touch on that in the when we talk about the international schedule, because that is a thing that needs to be addressed. And is there too much cricket on? I think there is personally, but your thoughts on that, Gabe, before we talk about one-day cricket?
I think that what it does, it affects the standings in a way where, because you're playing different amount of test matches, right? You'll have this situation where a team may or may not play a test match, depending on how it's going to impact the standings. We recently saw something similar to that. And, you've got the teams that are going to play Sri Lanka, let's say, multiple times, right? And play a Bangladesh multiple times. And is it, let's just be real, though Bangladesh is probably one of the weaker test nations. Those are easy points. Those are easy points, so to speak. So I just think it throws a competitive balance off. You know what I mean? Because if it's 34, they're not playing everybody an equal amount of time. So I don't understand what the schedule makers were doing there. The only thing I can think of is give them more matches so that more teams can tour there. So that, to your point, cricket is dying. Their Sports Breakdown in Bangladesh, not dying, but obviously, the viewership is dying. So if we start bringing in more test teams from bigger nations, maybe it'll ignite or reignite the passion, and more fans will come out.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is something that needs to be fixed, but we'll touch on that a bit later on, as I said. So before we move on to ODI cricket, Gabe, who's your favorite player in Test cricket at the moment? Who do you like watching? Batsman or bowler,
man.
or
that is both? So tough. It is tough. It is so tough. Man, what's funny, man? Most guys, and Nick and I laugh about it. We were talking about this the other day, that it seems like every single highlight video we do, every single one we do, it's like West Indies getting yammied, right? And it's like they always perform against my guys. They always perform against the West Indies, and it's like it must be a West Indies hater that puts together these compilation videos, because in every one of them, the West Indies are getting hammered. And bro, Kane Williamson just owns the West Indies, doesn't he? He's a monster. He beats up the West Indies. It drives me insane. I remember calling him garbage because coming off an IPL season where he did nothing, and oh god. But he is probably one of my favorites to watch. You know what I mean? Like, Kane Williamson is an absolute dog, man. There's a lot of good batsmen out there that I enjoy watching in tests. Babar Azam is another one I enjoy watching, even though he doesn't get a lot of test matches. Man, I love watching Sky. Sky's one of my favorite players in general, from India. If you ever heard the story, he came so late into the game. It's Sky's probably one of my favorite Indian players and batsmen to watch. Rishabh Pant, just because he's so reckless and you don't ever know what you're gonna get out of it. for bowlers, man. I just love watching bowlers take scalps, and I love watching. Patty Cummings is one of my favorites. You know, it's he's an artist with the ball, man. He's an artist with the ball, and it's not that he's got the most pace, because the most pace is Mitchell Stark, right? Mitchell Stark, those gas, absolute
Oh,
gas.
that delivery he bowled to Rory Burns first ball.
Rory Burns.
Oh,
Oh my God. I felt bad because Rory Burns that year had gone down for like 6 or 7 ducks. But that ball was truly unplayable. That was absolute. But Mitchell Stark, again, much like a Joshua Archer, is good in spurts, but he's always hurt. And those guys that just rely on just pure pace and gas can only give you 10, 15, maybe 20 overs, and then they just start wearing down. Where Patty Cummings looks as good in the fourth day of a test match in the second innings bowling, and he does it in the first. You know what I mean? I feel like he gets stronger. So he's probably one of my favorites. Boomerang from India, man. It's weird because he's got this weird delivery too, like almost like his arm is too straight. I
yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
you've ever watched it. Like it looks like it's almost like somebody said that his elbow is what do you call it? I forgot what they mentioned, like double jointed. That's why it looks that way when he does it. So his delivery looks weird. But Boomer is absolutely nasty, and he's got more of a almost like an Australian mentality when he's bowling, where he's gonna throw gas and he's gonna beat you up a little bit, and he's gonna throw some rocks at you and hold that. You know what I mean? This is my pitch, so I like that aggressiveness out of him, and yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's the bowlers. I think that's where it starts, and it's the best part of Test, watching them take scalps. Those are some of my favorites. There's some young guys that I really like watching. Um, in USA, all right, USA again. It's not Test. I know we're talking about Test cricket, but we're gonna jump into ODI shortly. Man, USA has this kid, Steve. Oh man, he's an absolute monster. And Stevens is a dog. He's a dog. And did the West Indies also has some good players. I think the thing with the West Indies is they don't have enough depth. Does that make sense? They've got Azari Joseph, of course, the night watchman. They got a couple of good bowlers, but other than that, they don't have enough depth to take on the likes of England or India. And only the third or fourth bowlers are getting pumped, absolutely pumped. So, I mean, that's me. Who's your favorite? Let me guess. I know you're an umpire, so that I wouldn't say maybe David Warner. One of your favorite, David Warner, because
Mm,
you always seem more partial to the batsman. I know you always seem more partial
I
to the
like
batsman.
batting, but I am a bowler
Yeah,
myself. But I like
that's
batting.
what I'm saying.
Now, yeah, for me, it's the guy behind me in the poster that I grew up
Ricky
watching.
Ponting. But Ricky Ponting not playing anymore. I mean, like current player right now. Like
Well,
who's your
that's all
favorite?
time, along with growing up as a kid. Him and Michael Hussey from Australia were two of my favorite Test players growing
Right.
up. Currently, it's got to be Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne, the batsman.
Minus. I love me some minus.
No run. Oh, he's a character, Marnus. Nathan Lyon for the bowling. Josh Hazelwood, because he reminds me of Glenn McGrath so much, that line and length. And Pat Cummins for the bowling. That's my favourites at the moment. And the sports breakdown said, batting for me, it's Marnus, Babar Azam, Test cricket. For bowling, it's Kahisa Rabada and Nathan Lyon. That's not bad. That's pretty good. The direct hit says, can KG Rabada, he's around about 440 scalps. So I think that's combined with all three formats. Can he surpass 600? Yes. If he can stay fit and healthy, he probably can go past that in his international career combined. So, hi everyone. Hope you enjoyed our cricket discussion with Gabe from Cricket for Americans on all things Test cricket. Let us know in the comments your thoughts about Test cricket from part 3. We would love to hear what you have to say.